Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about a case that has been blowing up all over the internet, especially all over TikTok, regarding a man called Wade Wilson, also known by now as the Joker killer and the DeadPool killer, since the fictional character DeadPool is also named Wade Wilson. And he's been one of the most talked about murderers in years, as a lot of people are quite literally obsessed with him. But before we dive into his life and the murders that he has committed, a quick reminder of the trigger warnings for today's case, which are murder, sexual abuse, drug abuse, and domestic violence. So without any further ado, let's get on to the video. Wade Wilson was born on the 20th of May in 1994 in Tallahassee, Florida, and trouble was starting right from his birth on, because his mom was only 14 years old when she discovered that she was pregnant with Wade, and his dad was only 15 years old. And due to the fact that his biological mom was struggling a lot with her mental health as well as other medical issues, she decided that she just couldn't raise Wade on her own. So Wade ended up being adopted by Candy and Steve Wilson, who, if I understand correctly, were known by Wade's biological mother through the church. So the Wilson family adopted Wade, where he grew up with two sisters, and at the beginning everything was good, everything was pretty normal, until one summer when Wade was around 13 years old, because that's the time when Wade's whole personality suddenly changed. And there were no warning signs either. Wade went from a completely normal boy who was laid back, nice, polite, with a lot of friends, to this angry, violent, and paranoid persona. All of a sudden, Wade refused to leave the house, refused to interact not only with his friends but also with his whole family. And his anger was getting worse and worse with every passing day. Wade at one point even started to believe that an alien presence was out there just waiting to hurt him and his family. So every morning, while the family was just getting ready to start the day, Wade would rush downstairs and close all of the curtains, because he was so convinced that there was someone outside of their house watching them. And his mom, understandably so, would get very mad at him, because he would do this every single morning. He would argue with them that they weren't taking him seriously. And his mom would tell him, like, stop, there is no one out there. There is no one watching us or waiting to hurt us. But this only made Wade angrier, because in his mind he was just trying to protect his family, and he couldn't understand why no one was believing him. So Wade keeps on trying to convince his family that they are in danger, and he even tells his father at one point that there was a bomb in the garage that would explode at any moment. And his father, upon hearing that, would call the police, but obviously there was no bomb. It was clear that Wade was struggling with depression and anxiety, and his parents did their best to try and get their son that needed help, but nothing really seemed to work. In fact, Wade seemed to get worse and worse, because he now started to have visions and hallucinations. And not long after, Wade, at 13 years old, turned to drugs in an attempt to cope with his mental health, where he immediately developed a drug addiction. And of course, this would only worsen his state. Wade became even more suicidal and aggressive. His mood swings became out of control. Wade was now constantly angry, and he became very difficult to just be around. Wade would now constantly get into physical fights in school, where the police had to be called. And Wade at one time even had to be admitted into a mental health facility, but nothing seemed to be working. And to make things even worse, Wade, at only 18 years old, suffered major concussions playing baseball and American football. Another time, Wade's car crashed into a tree, and because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt at the time, his head went full force into the dashboard. This car crash was very serious. Wade even had to be transported into the hospital, where he did manage to recover, but only a few years later, Wade would get into another car crash, receiving yet another serious head injury. And somewhere between all of his injuries and car accidents, Wade also overdosed on narcotics. And as a result of this overdose, he developed seizures, and the combination of those events did leave Wade with brain impairment. So now Wade is 18 years old. He left school and made a decision to turn to a life of crime. And his criminal history is a lot: trespassing, fraud, burglary, robbery, child cruelty, sexual assault, and the list just keeps going on and on. But to keep it somewhat short for the sake of this video, Wade was charged with every offense that you can possibly imagine. But every time that Wade would be sent to prison, he only received a short sentence, and as soon as Wade was released, he would just go on and commit even more crimes. And also around the time Wade got back into contact with his biological father, who was now only 33 years old. And once he got back with his father, it almost seemed that Wade was only interested in using his father for money to support his drug addiction. And he spent his next few years basically just in and out of prison. And when he would be out and about, Wade would involve himself in a few relationships, but just like his life, he pretty much just jumped from one relationship into the next. Although Wade did impregnate one woman and became a father to a baby girl. Now, I couldn't find out too much about his dating record, but it is known that Wade was abusive to the point where he would beat his partners pretty much black and blue. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because in 2015, Wade was at some party where he met a woman and the two hit it off right away. So Wade and this woman went back to his car to smoke some weed. And I can tell you exactly what had happened, but Wade all of a sudden just snapped. He demanded her to get into the back seat of his car, where he started to choke her pretty hard, while threatening to shoot her if she didn't do what he wanted. And that's when Wade sexually assaulted and filmed the assault of the woman with her own phone. And after the assault, the woman went immediately to the police and Wade was sent to court. And I really can't believe I'm about to say this, Wade was set free because he told the jury that the sex was consensual, and he also claimed that the woman was into rough sex, and because Wade had filmed everything, there was evidence, so somehow he managed to convince the whole jury that he didn't do anything wrong. But his freedom didn't last all too long, because in 2018, Wade was yet again in prison, who knows what for this time. But whilst in prison, Wade made even more headlines. So what had happened was a man called Mike Williams, maybe some of you have heard of him, went missing in the 2000s. And people thought that he had some kind of boat accident where he maybe have gotten eaten by alligators. Well, 18 years later, it is discovered that Mike Williams wasn't eaten by alligators. It was his wife Denise who killed her husband Mike with a new boyfriend, Brian Winchester. And you're probably wondering, why am I telling you this? How is this connected to Wade? Well, get this. Denise and Brian had gotten away with murder of Mike for 18 years now. But Brian was now in prison for another crime, and whilst he is in prison, that's when the allegations started to come up again. So Brian is in full panic mode now, and the only thing on his mind right now is, well, damn, I need to somehow keep Denise quiet. Brian refuses to go down, refuses to take accountability for the murder that he had committed 18 years ago. So what does Brian do? Well, he turns to one of his inmates. And who might that inmate be, you ask? Well, it's none other than Wade Wilson. So Wade comes up to Brian and says, listen, if you give me enough money, when I get out of prison, I'll get rid of Denise for you. For Wade to even come up with this is mind-blowing, but once he does get out, he doesn't kill Denise. And once the trial started in regards of the murder of Mike, Wade Wilson was named as one potential hitman. So yeah, Wade was talked about long before he even committed his crimes. By the end of 2018, Wade, at 24 years old, had started a relationship with a woman called Kelly Matthews. Now, Kelly did come forward and spoke about her relationship with Wade, and you can find it all over her TikTok if you want to hear her story. But basically, Kelly and Wade met on a dating site called Plenty of Fish. They started talking and went on a few dates, the usual. And Kelly thought to herself, hey, this is a really cool guy. Wade was definitely nice and charming, but he was also full of BS. Because when he introduced himself, he told Kelly that his name was Steven. And he also didn't tell Kelly that he was living in a halfway house because he was just recently released from prison. Wade also lied to Kelly that he didn't have any children and that he also didn't use any drugs. So their entire relationship was built on lies, and because Kelly didn't know any of the truth, she saw Wade exactly how he wanted her to see him. Eventually, Wade moved in with Kelly, and the next 5-6 months, everything was great. The couple went on dates. Kelly also introduced Wade to her friends and family. Well, she did introduce him as Steven, because Wade still kept up all of his lies. So everything was going great until one day Kelly and Wade were just out and about, when Wade all of a sudden starts to take cocaine right in front of Kelly. And Kelly is just standing there shocked, and she did say like, didn't you tell me that you wouldn't do drugs? And from that point on, Kelly started to see the real Wade, because she was now paying more and more attention. Kelly would constantly find drugs around their home, and whenever Kelly would confront Wade, it would turn into a huge fight. But remember, Wade is such an aggressive person that it would escalate every single time. At one point, Wade kicked down Kelly's door and threatened to kill her dogs. And it kept getting worse and worse. Wade would now constantly try to isolate Kelly from her friends and family. He would regularly steal her money, and now he also started to cheat on Kelly, repeatedly, even with one of Kelly's friends. And if that's not bad enough to be abused and betrayed by your own boyfriend and so-called friend, to make it even worse, Wade and this friend of Kelly's stole everything from Kelly's home and went to Texas together. The audacity of this man, and I feel like I'm going to say that quite a lot today. So Kelly obviously went to the police, but for whatever reason they didn't want to do anything about it. And I guess to no one's surprise, just a little while later, Wade came running back to Kelly, begging for forgiveness, telling her how sorry he was, and actually managed to manipulate Kelly into taking him back. But this facade, of course, didn't last all too long, and on the 18th of February in 2019, so about 6 months into the relationship, Kelly and Wade were having a serious conversation about Wade getting into rehab, because Wade had promised Kelly that if she took him back, he would make major changes and get himself clean. But Wade had absolutely no desire to go into rehab. And to be honest, I think that Wade probably wasn't even aware that he had a problem. Maybe in his mind he thought that the excessive drug use was normal. But nonetheless, with Wade refusing to keep his promise, he broke Kelly's trust yet again. Only this time their arguing would escalate to a whole new extreme, because they were arguing while driving around when Wade decided to park the car, and that's when he started to assault Kelly. First, Wade started to choke her pretty hard before slamming her foot in the car door. He also busted her lip open, so there was already blood dripping down from Kelly's face. But Wade still wasn't done, because now he started to bite her ear and chin before taking out his pocket knife and cutting Kelly's clothes off of her. So now, with Kelly completely wounded and naked, Wade had gotten her into the back seat of his car, where he used her cut-up clothes to tie her up before sexually assaulting her. But Wade still wasn't done. After the sexual assault, Wade then proceeded to blindfold and gag Kelly, leaving her completely naked in the back of his car before stealing her phone and meeting up with a drug dealer, where he actually sold Kelly's phone to finance his drug use. Wade, after everything that he has done, and with a still naked, bloody, bruised and traumatized Kelly, still tied up in the back seat of his car, Wade then drives to McDonald's drive-thru. Really? After everything that you have just done, the only thing on your mind is a Big Mac? So after the stop at McDonald's, Wade was still driving around, most likely just playing mind games with Kelly before he again pulled up, untied Kelly and handing her the keys back. He told her that he was going to hook up with another woman, and Kelly by this time was in such a shock that she just took the keys and got into the driver's seat, driving straight to the police. And remember, Kelly's still naked. Wade had cut up all of her clothes. She is a bloody mess, and even went to the hospital to get checked out, but the police still didn't do anything. They didn't care. They saw Kelly. They saw the sexual assault kit. They had evidence. Yet when Wade was questioned, he again claimed that it was all happening under consent. And the police was like, alright, and they just closed the case. And just like that, Wade had gotten away with yet another rape, and it just continues to go downhill from now on. Because right after Wade left Kelly, he met and gotten into a relationship with a woman who he also immediately started to abuse. Wade then entered into a relationship with a man, and he actually stabbed this man. And pretty much every single relationship that Wade had, he was abusing people left, right and center. So we're skipping a little in time, but Wade currently is yet again in a relationship, and his girlfriend somehow had gotten into contact with Kelly, where she told her everything that Wade did to her, about all the abuse and assault. And she was shocked to learn that Wade had done the exact same thing to Kelly, that he was now also doing to his new girlfriend. And in April of 2019, so we're now 6 months away from the tragic events of today's case, Wade met a woman through a mutual friend, and this woman's name was Melissa Montanes, who liked to be called Mila. They met and pretty much from the get-go started a sexual relationship, and also quickly moved in together. But Wade being Wade, he soon started to abuse Mila as well. He would beat her every single day to the point where she was bloodied and bruised. Wade also started to sexually assault Mila, and Mila in the first few weeks, I have to stress that Wade is extremely violent, and he starts his abuse rather quickly. So in the first few weeks, Mila went to the police a couple of times, but yet again they did nothing. And this is so infuriating because Wade already has such a huge criminal record. He already has been in and out of prison multiple times, but yet the police refused to step in when he was sexually assaulting multiple women. And whenever Mila and Wade would break up, they would sooner or later get back together because Wade also managed to manipulate his victims into taking him back. And only 2 months into the relationship, it completely escalated. Everything started with some texts on Mila's phone. Now, I have no idea what these texts were about or with whom this conversation was happening, but Wade was so furious, and to be honest, he was probably isolating Mila as well. So he clearly didn't want her texting anybody so that she couldn't tell people what was actually happening to her. But once Wade saw the text messages, he started choking Mila to the point where she actually passed out. And when she regained her conscience, she escaped somewhat unharmed. But only a few days later, the same thing happened again, and Mila thankfully managed to escape a second time, somewhat unharmed. However, the third time around, Wade would turn up his violence. The couple was driving around when Mila received some texts on her phone, and Wade, upon seeing them, just snapped. They started arguing, and mind you, they are still driving, when Wade jumps on Mila, beating her, and by the look of his eyes, she was certain that he was going to kill her. So Mila jumps out of the car, terrified for her life, but Wade grabs her by her skirt and eventually tears it off of her, leaving Mila completely naked from the waist down. Wade quickly caught up to her and started choking her until Mila again passed out. But this time, however, Wade tied Mila's hands and feet together with an electric cord that he'd gotten from the car. So once Mila wakes up, she realized that she is trapped and she started kicking and screaming. But Wade quickly put Mila into the car where he also blindfolded her. And then he dragged her to a boat where he threw her onto the floor and started sexually assaulting her. And he also told Mila that the only reason he was doing this was to teach her a lesson. And this just went on and on. They were once again driving around, and I have no idea what Wade's deal is with cars, but it seems like he likes getting into arguments while driving. So again, a huge argument breaks out between Mila and Wade, although this time Mila thankfully is able to escape and she runs straight to the police, telling the police officers in detail what Wade previously did to her on the boat. Her injuries were still very visible. I mean, this woman had bruises all over her. She had 2 black eyes, and thankfully the police finally did take this serious. Wade was arrested and held on bail for almost 4 months, but whilst he was in jail waiting for his trial, he kept on manipulating Mila. He would call her every single day, pleading with her to forgive him, promising her to change, and he actually managed to manipulate Mila to drop the charges. So it is now the 6th of October in 2019. Wade is still a free man and back together with Mila. And on this day, Wade, Mila and a friend of Mila's called Amy all went together to a bar. They're all hanging out, drinking, having fun. But as it got later on in the night, Mila and Amy wanted to go home. But Wade was acting kind of weird when he approached Mila and Amy with a stranger. Wade introduced the stranger as Jason, acting like they were best friends. And Wade wanted Amy and Mila to go over to Jason's home. But Mila didn't want to go to someone's house that she has just now met. So she tells Wade, "No, I want to go home." But Wade, of course being Wade, he just wouldn't take no for an answer, since Wade also had the keys to Mila's car. He was refusing to give her the car keys. He said that the only way he would get her the car keys back was if she would drive them to Jason's home. But Mila just refused. She didn't want to go to someone's house not knowing anything about that person. So Mila and Amy called an Uber, and understandably so, Mila was furious about the fact that she had to leave her $80,000 car at the bar with Wade. After Mila and Amy left the bar, Wade and his newfound friend Jason were drinking some more when Wade saw a woman by the name of Kristen Melton. Kristen was 35 years old. She loved animals, she loved her nieces and nephews, and she couldn't wait to become a mother herself. So Kristen was at the same bar with her friend Stephanie, and once Wade saw Christine, he was immediately interested in her, not even thinking about the fact that she has a girlfriend who just left upset not all too long ago. But that doesn't seem to bother Wade, as he makes his way towards Christine and introduces himself as Junior. They start talking and Wade buys Christine and her friend Stephanie drinks, just having a nice night, so the 2 women decide to go home with Wade. They all left the bar around 2 a.m. since it was closing time at the bar, and Wade, who by the way still has Mila's car keys, throws them to Jason, who drives all 4 of them to his house where they have some more drinks, smoked some weed, and Wade, Jason and Christine also took cocaine. After a while of partying, Wade and Christine go into Jason's room to have sex, but around 5 a.m. Jason has had enough partying and drugs at his house, so he throws Wade and Christine and Stephanie out. And Wade, still having Mila's car keys, tells the 2 women that he'll drive them home, but when Wade goes to turn the engine on and reverse off, the car doesn't move. Wade tries it again. The car makes a lot of noise, but it still won't move, and the reason for it is that the car wasn't an automatic. It was a stick shift, and Wade had no idea how to drive with a stick shift. And after he realized that he wouldn't be able to move the car, let alone drive the car, he called an Uber to go to Kristen's house. They arrive at around 5:30 a.m. and Stephanie proclaims that she's going to go home to get ready for work, so she hugs Christine goodbye, telling her that she'll call her later on in the day. Christine and Wade went inside and into her bedroom to catch up on some sleep. And as Christine was asleep, Wade just kept on watching her chest rise and fall with every breath that she took. And all of a sudden, he had this feeling that he needed to kill her. Wade climbed on top of Christine and started to choke her until she passed away. And after he murdered Christine, whom he only had just met a few hours ago, he actually stayed at her house thinking about what he was going to do with her body. But that's also when he realized that he doesn't have his phone on him. He left his phone at Jason's house, so he takes Christine's phone, but because her phone needed a Face ID, he hands it over Christine's dead body to unlock the phone. Wade then rolled Christine's body up in a rug, but when he went to drag it out, he realized that it was heavier than expected. So he just leaves Christine's dead body in the middle of her home, steals her car key and drives off with her car. He drives back to his girlfriend Mila, who is still asleep. It's now around 8 a.m. and Mila's actually sleeping at Amy's place. So Wade keeps calling her repeatedly and he's really getting mad now that Mila isn't picking up her phone. At around 9 a.m. Mila wakes up and sees all of those missed calls from a number that she doesn't know. And this number kept on calling her, so Mila picks up the phone. And once she hears Wade's voice, she is more than just furious. Mila asks him, "Where are you? And more importantly, where is my car? I need to go back to work." And the car was still at Jason's place. But Mila obviously doesn't know that, so Wade tells her, "I'm driving to you right now." But Mila tells him, "Look, I'm not at home. Let's meet at my workplace." Mila had her own business called Mila Spa, where she and Amy actually worked together. And because Mila didn't have her car, the two women were driving with Amy's car. So once they arrive at the spa, Mila tells Amy to just stay in the car since she doesn't want Amy to see what Wade is really like. She just doesn't want to possibly endanger her friend. So she goes over to Wade, but obviously this wasn't her car, so she starts knocking on the door, yelling, "Where is my car? I want my car back." But Wade only tells her to get in the car and he won't take no for an answer. But Mila is like, "No, absolutely not. I won't get into the car with you, not after everything that had happened." But Wade just grabs her, trying to get Mila inside the car through the window. And Mila is fighting for her life. She refuses to be dragged into the car, but Wade also refuses to let go of Mila. He pulls with all of his force at her, and once he realizes that this won't work, he rips the car door open, jumping at her, so now they're rolling on the ground. But Wade didn't put the car in park mode, so the car slowly starts to roll towards Mila and Wade before it rolls into another parking car. Wade now starts to punch Mila out in the open for everyone to see, and Amy is still in the car, frozen with fear and shock. As she makes her way to get out of the car, Wade turns to her and tells her, "If you get out of the car, I will kill you." So Amy goes back to the car and calls 911. And in the meantime, Wade all of a sudden realizes that he's actually about to kill Mila in broad daylight. So he grabs her by her dress and starts to drag her inside of her shop. But Mila grabs a hold of the railing that was in front of the store, and she has a death grip on that railing, which angers Wade even more. So now he again starts to punch Mila right in her face to get her to let go of this railing. Mila by that point is bleeding with Wade, but all to no avail because Wade just wouldn't stop punching Mila, and he landed one extremely hard punch to her face, breaking her nose in the process. And it was in fact Mila's blood that splattered all over Wade, so you can only imagine how hard the punch must have been. And this was enough of a distraction because Wade now could clearly hear police sirens slowly approaching him. Wade hurries back inside the car and actually manages to flee the scene. Mila and Amy tell the police what had just happened, but they have no idea where Wade was heading to. And unfortunately, Wade Wilson still wasn't done. On the same day at around 9:30 a.m., Wade, still in Christine's car, sees 43-year-old Diane Roos just walking on the sidewalk, minding her own business, when Wade pulls up next to her asking for directions to a local school. Now, I have no idea if Diane had gotten in the car by her own will or if she was dragged inside, but Diane was inside the car, and as soon as she'd gotten in, Wade immediately started to choke her until she eventually passed out. Wade then drove to a parking lot. He got Diane out of the car and put her on the ground, climbed back inside the car and drove over Diane, taking her life. And if that's not bad enough, Wade didn't just run her over once. No, of course not, because apparently this wasn't satisfying enough for Wade. He kept running her over, and after he's finally done, he just dumps Diane's body into a wood nearby before driving off. So a few hours go by, and around 3 p.m. the police get a hint that Wade was hiding in the parking area of a restaurant, and he's just sitting there without a shirt on when the police officer walks over to Wade and tells him that he needs to arrest him for the assault he had committed against his girlfriend early on in this morning. Another officer arrives at the scene, and Wade is clearly getting more and more nervous and also more and more agitated. And the officer tells him to hand over the keys, but Wade ignores him and just speeds off. And because the officers only know about the assault, they still don't know that Wade had just murdered 2 people. They decide not to chase after him. Wade is now desperately trying to find anyone who could help him. So he drives to a print shop where a man called Josh was working. And Josh and Wade weren't exactly friends, but they do know of each other. So once Wade goes inside the shop, he tells Josh, "Look, I need your help. I just killed someone and there is CCTV footage. I need you to buy my ticket, plane ticket, bus ticket, I don't care, I just need to leave." And Josh is standing there in a complete shock because Wade, like I said before, doesn't have a shirt on. He doesn't even have shoes on. He's covered in blood, and I'm only assuming, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wade was also on some kind of drugs. So Josh tells him like, "Okay, you stay here, let me just make a phone call and I'll help you get out of here." But of course Josh doesn't want to help him. Instead he calls 911, but once he comes back there is no Wade. But this time, however, Wade escaped by foot, meaning that once the police arrived, they found Kristen's black Nissan, which Wade had stolen, and the police repeatedly called Kristen's phone, but after they obviously couldn't reach her, they somehow had gotten a hold of Stephanie and they told her like, "Hey, we found Kristen's car, but we can't reach her." And Stephanie tells them, "Yeah, we were out and Kristen hooked up with a man called Junior." So the police go over to her home, and that's when the body of Kristen was discovered. So now Wade is on the run and he knows that he needs to hide. So at first the plan was to break into a random house, but because all of the doors were locked, he wasn't able to get inside, but he did manage to enter the garage. And the car that was parked inside, unfortunately, was unlocked. So Wade gets inside, and I really can't believe I'm about to say that, but this man actually pees in a coffee cup holder. But only a few moments later, though, the woman who lived there came home, and she saw Wade running out of her garage. And when she went to inspect her car, she noticed the pee in the cup holder. However, Wade still wasn't done. He managed to break into someone's home, and thankfully no one was there. So Wade decided to really make himself feel at home. He slept for a few hours, took a shower, stole a couple of clothes, and then sat on the sofa, feet on the couch, while he started to eat popcorn. Just a few hours ago he was running away from the police, but now he doesn't care at all. The only thing that matters to him now is to chill for a while. And he also calls up his biological father, Stephen, who, by the way, he only talks to when he needs something. So his father picks up, already expecting his son to ask for money. But needless to say that he was in complete shock when he heard what Wade actually needed this time. So after hearing the confession, his father just asks, "Why did you do this? Why did you kill 2 women?" To which Wade just replies, "I don't know. I just had a sudden urge to do it." And he asks his father Stephen if he could call him an Uber. But of course Stephen doesn't call an Uber. Instead he calls 911 and tells them everything, and he also tells the police where Wade is at the moment. So the police rush over to the address, kick down the door, and finally are able to arrest Wade Wilson. He was brought in for questioning regarding the assault on Mila and the two murders. And Wade agrees under the condition that he could have a burger and fries, so the police agree to the terms and Wade confesses everything. So now they have a confession, but the only problem now was that they still didn't know who this second woman was. And Wade refused to tell the police where he hid Diane's body. So the search went on for 3 days. Like, why? Wade already confessed to everything, and I personally believe that he enjoyed playing games with the police, for them to having to find Diane's body on their own. But now they had the body. They had enough evidence to charge Wade, and Wade was charged with assault on Mila as well as 2 murders. But it will still take 5 more years before Wade's case went to trial. In 2020 he actually tried to break out of prison and also made several claims where he said that he had previously worked for a human trafficking ring and that they are now trying to blame him for the murders. Wade was also caught dealing with drugs in prison, and he also has joined a prison gang called the Unforgiven and has gotten a lot of face tattoos. He has the numbers 14 and 88 tattooed, which are often referenced to Hitler, and he also has the "Why so serious" quote from Heath Ledger's Joker, as well as the Cheslier ring. So this was a summary of his prison stay, and once the trial had started, boy oh boy, social media blew up. He gained so many fangirls, and his fans made all kind of videos about him. Videos of the trial with Britney Spears' "Criminal." The hashtag Save Wade Wilson was even created, and he received a lot of letters where mostly women were writing to him, telling him that they believed that he was innocent and that they wanted to have sex with him, and even sending him nude images of themselves. Wade even had a Q&A over the phone where all of his fans could ask him all sorts of questions. And Wade Wilson has become a celebrity for killing 2 women, assault, and a lot more crimes. But nonetheless, it didn't change the fact that Wade was a convicted criminal, and he was found guilty on all charges, and now the jury had to decide between the death sentence or life in prison without the possibility of parole. Wade's defensive team tried to argue that he didn't deserve death penalty because of his brain damage that resulted through all of those brain injuries, but that wasn't enough to convince the jury or the judge, so on the 27th of August of this year, Wade Wilson was sentenced to death, so right now he is in jail awaiting his death sentence. His fans even tried to plead with the judge, but to no avail, and hopefully the families of Christine and Diane can now have somewhat of justice. Although nothing will bring Christine and Diane back. These murders were just so senseless and brutal, and from what I can see, I don't really think that Wade has any regret or at least any sympathy for what he has done. And that brings us to the end of today's case. As always, please let me know your thoughts and case suggestions in the comment section down below. I hope I see you all in my next video. Take care, bye!